Next, I think we're going to hear from someone. Her name is Chloe, and she has an incredible story. If you've ever doubted how beautiful you feel or what true beauty is, you'll be inspired by her story. Put your hands together and let's welcome Chloe.
U2 is definitely my favorite band. Especially the song Invisible. There's a line in that song that says, "I'm more than you know, I'm more than you see, I'm not invisible." After the assault, I really did feel invisible and that I didn't have a voice. I feel so blessed to have Omaze given me the opportunity to meet Bono. It was really key to my whole attitude transformation. Normal children are born with their foot like this, but clubfoot, or at least when I was born, mine was like that. My foot was upside down and backwards.
From when she was little, we talked a lot about what does it mean to be different, and told her, we think you're beautiful, and we just treat her like a normal kid who has to have surgeries, who is used to hospitals and doctors.
I'm not gonna give up. I'm just gonna keep trying.
I had to stop playing sports in 4th grade, but I kind of felt like I had a superpower. Like, guys, I'm so cool. Like, I don't have toenails. I look different than you. I'm awesome.
She went to high school so excited.
This is gonna be awesome. It'll be great.
What I heard was while my sister was in the locker room when she had to change shoes, a girl noticed her feet, and they had scars and they didn't really have any toenails.
She said, well, she came over to me at lunch and she asked me to talk. She wanted to ask me a question. And when she got there, there were, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 kids or some sitting around this table.
One of them held her down, and Chloe was saying, no, 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 and they wouldn't stop. And then one of them ripped off her shoes and socks.
She didn't punch them. She didn't fight back. She was really in shock. And it was really hard as a father to watch that.
As a mom, I was trying really hard. Sorry.
Police came the next day and read these girls their rights. And in that moment, she realized that she had been a victim of a crime. What was taken from her was really her innocence.
I was really ashamed of myself and my body, and it was the worst feeling in the world. It was worse than the pain of my surgeries. It was worse than all that.
She had come so far out of her shell. And to watch her in the following days just totally go inside herself and just, she couldn't sleep and she was just like void.
As a father watching this, it was devastating. And I kept asking, when is she gonna find her voice?
When we found out that Bono was going to do an experience to benefit Red and help deliver an AIDS-free generation, we were super excited. And that's one of the great things about being here is we get to see everyday people meet their heroes and they can have these transformational experiences.
During Christmas break, my dad got a FaceTime call. It was Jordan from Omaze.
So your dad entered for a chance to meet Bono, and we randomly chose a winner, and it's him.
Can you believe it? Wow. I get to take a guest, is that right?
Yes.
One guest?
One guest.
Backstage to meet Bono and the band. Can you believe it?
I felt like something was finally going right. It was finally starting to look up. I was really nervous. And I was on crutches from my surgery. He walked in. He was so cool, but at the same time, he felt so real.
And she said, the reason it's been significant this year is because of this awful thing that had happened to me.
And you could see that washing over Bono. You could see he understood the gravity of that experience for her. He said the arc of the universe bends towards justice and love. And when you have right on your side, it's like this big source of power.
And he said that my words are powerful. When I use my power for good, then my words are like a punch, not a physical punch, but a verbal punch. And he said, with that punch, I can deliver my message to reach the world. It was really key to my whole transformation.
Meeting with Bono shifted her whole world. Before she was like, I'm going to be a pediatric orthopedic surgeon. And then she's like, came home and said, I don't want to cut into people. I'm going to be an advocate.
I know that there are people that feel like they can't go on and feel like life is just so hard that it isn't worthwhile anymore. Because I felt like that last year. I was really desperate for someone who could say the magical words, I know what you're going through. I didn't really have that kind of person. I think that it'd be a really cool opportunity to be that person for so many people.
To have the winner be somebody like Chloe with a story like that, with Bono had already played a huge role in her life, and then to actually be able to get to meet him is a once in a lifetime chance.
When I was bullied, I took what they said about me and that's how I viewed myself. But I don't need to take how they think of me, and I can think of myself what I want to think of myself. That being that I'm awesome and that my foot is cool and that God made me that way for a reason, and I am so excited to find out what it is.
A 1,026 days ago, my life changed forever. When I stood on stage for the first time and used my voice. 16 minutes and 48 seconds on August 20th, 2016, took some past, broken, twisted, half version of this girl and turned her into someone who knows her worth, refuses to see herself as less than, and is never backing down. My story begins when I was born and labeled miracle right off the bat. I wasn't really supposed to be born alive, so the fact that I was here on earth in one piece was, as some would say, miraculous. I was quickly then labeled as different, which as time went on, transformed into the labels deformed and disabled, because I was born with an incredibly severe clubfoot, which means that when I was born, my foot was upside down and backwards. I'm also missing 7 toenails total, which is weird and random and something that no one really understands or has a reason for. I had my first operation at just 6 months old. I went on to wear special shoes, braces, and casts, and then have more surgeries. I've had 6 major surgeries in total, and to be honest, it's been really hard. But my parents were always very open about my disability. And my label of different was made easier to bear by labels my parents gifted me with. They called me special and loved and unique. These labels became my identity, and because of them, I grew up loving myself and my deformed foot and my growing collection of scars. I loved my foot. And then my labels changed. When I was 14, I was assaulted because of my deformity. I was restrained, and my disability was used for someone else's purposes in front of the eyes of others without my consent. I said no. I said no, I said no, I said no. And they didn't listen. They did it anyways. Revealed the part of me that I suddenly wanted to hide the most and held it out for everyone to see. Do I have a voice? Am I worth anything? Is my body really as ugly and dirty as they made it seem? I felt used. And for the first time in my life, I felt ashamed of the part of me I had always been told made me special. And all of a sudden, my labels of special and loved and unique were ripped away, and I was given labels I knew nothing about. Disgusting, used, freak. And then when my assault went to trial, I became victim. I didn't know what to do with these labels. They were ugly and confusing, and because of them, I let them consume me and soon took on more. Ashamed, depressed, isolated. I was angry and lonely and drifted through life not knowing or understanding why I was there. Things got worse. I stopped going out, stopped seeing my friends. My body was heavy and tired, and I was becoming scared of my own thoughts. But then something crazy happened. Something wild and random and completely insane. I met Bono. Now, unfortunately, I cannot assume you know who Bono is. So for those of you who don't know, it's okay. I forgive you. Yeah, of course we can still be friends. We'll move past this. Here's all you need to know about Bono before I move on. Are you ready? Bono's 59. He's Irish. He's the lead singer of my favorite band, U2. He's fighting globally to end AIDS. And he's basically the biggest rock star in the entire world. I had worked up the courage to tell Bono my story. And after I told him, Bono looked at me and he said, "Chloe, what happened to you is an injustice." He said, "People often ask me, Bono, do you ever get nervous before you go and speak before world leaders?" And I, Bono, always tell them no, because I know what I have to say is right and true and good. And he said, "Chloe, when your words are right and true and good, your voice is like this punch. Not a physical punch, but a verbal punch. And that punch is supported by the voices of many." Bono's response turned me completely around. His words inspired me to crawl out of this hole I had been hiding in and find my voice. I realized that I wanted to be a voice for those that had none, to help others not feel as alone as I had felt. Challenged by Bono's words, I started to think about what it would mean to stand beautiful. If I could inspire people of all ages to embrace their uniqueness and boldly face their beautiful selves, then somehow my assault would have been worth something. And suddenly I was realizing that we as a human race are all beautiful. The parts of us that society looks at and deems ugly or weird or abnormal make us unique. Our differences make us who we are, and that person should be celebrated. I also realized that I was not alone, because we all have something that has hurt us. As I began to heal and slowly gained confidence, I realized that only I have the power to determine what my labels are. That I was not stuck forever to be labeled as disgusting, used victim. A message of self-acceptance and love was born, and Stand Beautiful became my proclamation. I think it's time to redefine normal. Some people look at me, they look at my foot, and they say, "Chloe, your feet don't look normal." But the way that my deformed foot looks is normal to me. It's my reality. And that's just it. Normal does not exist, because we all have separate realities, a different normal. Maybe your parents are divorced, or you've convinced yourself that you're fat. Maybe you hate the color of your skin, or you've always felt guilty for wishing your family had more money. Maybe you've spent your entire life believing that you're dumb, or maybe like me, you only have 3 toenails. Why do we put so much time and effort forcing ourselves to try and fit into societal standards of normal when we are each perfect in our own imperfect way? Because friends, everyone has insecurities. Parts of them they wish weren't there or try way too hard to hide. But you're not alone. And I know that because I'm not alone. We all have stuff and we all try and hide it. But here are some undeniable truths I had to learn for myself. 1, you were made for a reason. 2, you're here right now not by accident. 3, you matter. There's a lot of brokenness in our world. And in my story, a lot of that brokenness showed up in the form of bullying. The sad truth: bullying is an epidemic. And I know that because it's a part of all of our stories in some way. What happened to me is an extreme form of bullying, but bullying comes in many forms. And it's not just your stereotypical fist fight or throwing someone in a trash can. No. Every time you say that one thing, make that one side comment, whisper behind that one person's back, point that one finger, laugh at that one person, screenshot that one picture, that's bullying. And bullying hurts. But I strongly believe that when people feel good about themselves, they don't feel the need to bully others. There has to be some way to reconcile all the painful, hurting parts of this world. Can we find beauty through brokenness? Because the truth is, there's so much beauty to be found when we learn to look. But truth isn't always the easiest to see. It comes from a place of rawness, of recognizing hurt and pain and trusting that it won't always feel like this. Because it won't. After my assault, I started going to therapy, started talking about my hurt, and I found myself once again reevaluating what my labels were. Pretty soon I was called determined. Some labeled me as brave. To some I was a fighter. But I needed to do more. I didn't have to let my assault win. And it came down to a single word when given the opportunity to share my story for the first time. And that word was yes. My life changed that day I first said yes. Standing there barefoot on that stage 1,026 days ago. I stood there in all my fear and insecurity and self-doubt, weighed down by all the "you're not good enoughs, you're uglies, you should just give ups." I stood there and decided that saying yes to the crazy, wild, unpredictable goodness of my future was not something I wanted to stop doing. And 3 years, 2 books, more storytelling, and so many yeses later, I still believe that there's something big happening with this story. I know that my life won't stop being hard, but I trust that there is beauty to be found in brokenness, hope to be found in the dark, and a future to be found in the word yes. Because the truth, yes is a powerful word. Yes is action. Yes is purpose. Yes is clear and complicated and so immensely complex. Yes is beautiful and scary. Yes is empowering, and yes is challenging. Yes is such a short word, but has an impact that is anything but small. To say yes is to affirm, to commit, to promise, to join, to challenge, to stand. To say yes is big. I found that what was so often holding me back was fear. I let fear have so much power. I let it win. Over and over and over again, I let fear be in control. And it keeps me from trusting, from believing. But love breaks through fear and beats insecurities and challenges our ideas of failure. This type of love, it's light. And all of that darkness, pain, isolation, rejection, abandonment, failure, insecurity, depression, suicidal thoughts, fear, that darkness cannot exist when there is so much light. Fear, I'm saying no. No to the ways you think you control my future. No to how you want me to live in the past. I'm saying no to how you force me to overanalyze, overthink. No to how you want me to believe I'm too much and how I'm not enough. Fear, I'm saying no to all the times you wouldn't let me say yes. I'm saying no to how you made me doubt myself over and over and over again. Fear, you can't win. You can't win, you can't win, you can't win. Fear, I'm saying no. Because I choose to love myself. I choose to love all of myself. My story so easily could have ended that day in November of 2014. But for some crazy, wild reason I may never fully understand, it didn't. And now looking back on these almost 5 years, I have full faith that whatever happens in the future, this story will continue. Because I choose to believe this story is being rewritten every day. Friends, I don't know what labels you walked into this room with, what stories you're carrying, but I do know that they aren't the labels. This isn't the story that you have to leave with. Because there's this crazy, wild truth that says that we aren't limited to a single story. I mean, I wasn't supposed to be born alive. I have a severe clubfoot. I'm missing 7 toenails. I was a victim of assault because of my deformity. I've dealt with depression and suicidal thoughts and anxiety, massive insecurities, the toxicity of comparison, and so much rejection. But I also just finished my first year in university. I have a younger brother and 2 dogs. And I don't have a favorite food or a favorite color because I'm terrible at making decisions. I love my friends and think board games are massively underrated. And I try my best to love people well and smile a whole lot. My stories aren't all easy to tell. This girl right here, this girl is broken. Her stories go so much deeper than the ones she stands on stage and tells. This girl's heart has been broken so many times. This girl cries when she thinks people aren't looking. And this girl manages to feel alone even when she is surrounded by people. This girl is called brave by many, but has a hard time seeing that attribute in herself. Even when she stands on stage, even when she sits behind a news camera, this girl knows that stories of pain and of strength so often coexist. Because this girl has been the victim of bullying. You are not one story. You are not defined solely by your pain, by your past. And you are not trapped in the expectations of what this society deems success, perfection, outright altogether-ness. We are made up of so many stories. So tell them all. Because you are not alone, storyteller. Just because we hurt right now does not mean that we're weak. One day our stories will remind us of how strong we are, how we were made to be resilient. You could make today the day you fix what's broken, confront the unconfrontable, walk away from the labels you feel trapped in. Today could be the day you choose to see yourself as worthy. Good doesn't have to exist only in the future, it can exist right now. Recognize yourself as a fighter, as a real-life redemption story, as an example of hope. All you have to do is say yes. Friends, Stand Beautiful is a movement, a proclamation of worth and a new definition of beauty. It's a battle cry and a fight for justice and a song that I can't get out of my head. Stand beautiful amidst the sadness and the heartbreak and this overwhelming sense of betrayal. Stand beautiful when nothing makes sense and you can't find hope and you feel like you've lost everything that mattered. Stand beautiful when life is so hard. And then stand beautiful when life gets better. Standing beautiful is about claiming all of the parts of your story as yours. Saying no to running from your past and saying yes to the crazy, wild, unpredictable goodness that is your future. Step into this messy, beautiful story we're all living and trust that there is more for you. Say no to bullying. Say no to fear. Say no to hate. Say no to all the ways this world tries to convince you you're not enough. Instead, say yes. Say yes to believing you're worth it. Say yes to recognizing your power. Say yes to all the ways you see your story continuing. Say the word our bodies ache for and our fears cower at. Recognize that your story is being rewritten every single time you say that little 3-letter word. Step into 1,026 chances to be a yes maker and stand beautiful with me. I'm gonna ask you all to stand where you're sitting. And I'm going to remind us one more time of those 3 truths. 1, you were made for a reason. 2, you're here right now, not by accident. 3, you matter. I'm gonna count to 3, and I'm gonna document this, all right? On 3, we are all going to say, I stand beautiful. And when we say these words, we are going to remind ourselves of our worth, that we are resilient, that we have the power, the courage to say yes. So on 3, I stand beautiful. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Come on. Can we put our hands together and thank Chloe? High fives. What an incredible story about how we can redefine what is normal and what is beautiful and be happy in the skin that we're in. Why don't we say yes one more time? Say yes. All right.